Hey, good morning, everybody. It's another cold morning here in the UK. Hi, Smart Alec. Hi, Nalon. Hello, Graham. How's everybody doing? So, today we are talking about craft versus art and design versus discovery. All exciting stuff. So, just some quick definitions, right? So actually, I just typed into ChatGPT last night. What is craft and what is art? Okay. So we've got craft down as traditionally craft refers to the creation of objects that have functional purpose. That can include things like pottery, woodwork, weaving, metalwork. Crafts often valued for their utility as much as their aesthetic qualities. The skill in craft is usually learned through apprenticeship and focused on mastery of techniques and materials to produce high quality functional items. Art, on the other hand, is usually associated with expression, emotion, conceptual ideas. It often seeks to provoke thought, convey messages, or evoke emotional responses. Art can be anything from painting, sculpture, installations, performance art, obviously music. Unlike craft, art is less about mastery of specific techniques of a function, purpose, and more about individual expression and communication of ideas or feelings. Interesting stuff. So, I mean, when I'm thinking about it, so when I used to make music, even when I was coached, right? So a lot of the time when I was doing dance music, there's a formula to it, and this would cause like a lot of problems. And I do remember, making a lot of music, and it was more like a procedure. It was more like a procedure than it was creating something with meaning. So I would think about music like, well, the kick's got to be powerful, right? We need a really good kick drum. And the kick drum would always do pretty much, four on the floor because it would be a dance track. And of course, you're going to have your claps. So it's always the clap goes in the same place, the hi-hats go in the same place, I know. And you're building this track up, and it's like, well, what am I doing different? you know, what what am I trying to say here? And what I was trying to say was very, very limited by a lot of different factors that were around me. And I come back to always this label whoring thing because it was good in terms of building a fan base, but it was also bad in terms of me trying to express myself. It was like very, very difficult. So I would kind of class myself as, although it is art, as more on the craftist side of things, more a craft person, because that's what fundamentally a lot of the dance music is, isn't it? It's like when you write, not all of it, but the majority that I hear, okay, it's following a formula. It's like if we listen to trap music, there's another thing. There's a formula you can make trap music. I've done it here before. There's a procedure that you follow. You have your 808 kick, your 808 hi-hat, rim shot, clap all at the same time on the third beat. You're in a half time. You've got 16th hi-hats and then you'll put like little like kind of stuttery hi-hats in on every beat. You'll have some sort of like background ambient noise. You'll have an 808 bass, and you're pretty much there with that, aren't you? So it all kind of comes down to how creative you are in the sound design. So you tend to find the sound design aspect tends to be the thing that's given people their identity. So that guy, Mimo for real, fundamentally, like what he's doing is it's a formula. He's got his background sound and his stuff. Like it is really cool what he does. It caught my eye, but a lot of what he's doing different is in his 808s. He has his own individual sound designy 808 thing, which I can't really describe. So yes, I remember it well, and so you would have basically the genre that you were in, and you have all the things that you need to conform to fit into that genre. And I think when I was doing dance music, not shred, the majority of people who listen to that music they're not really musicians, or they might dabble a little bit in sort of music production and stuff. But you'll not find anybody, you don't, not that many people would be, fully into it and wanting to produce and all that kind of stuff. Not in the same way as, the people who are into the stuff that I do with, Thomas and McLaughlin and Hutch thing, it's a totally different thing altogether. So I'd find myself in this situation where basically I had to have these particular things all in this particular place, all right? And I couldn't really experiment that much outside of that. So everything else really just, I was just expressing myself. Which is whether the track was minor or major, really, and a lot of the time it was in the minor key, and a lot of the time, it would be either I'd have something that would be melodic or it would be groove orientated, and it would always be aimed towards a label that I was trying to get signed to. So every time I was getting signed to a label, it was like a strategic move to move up the ladder. It's like a really strange way to make music when I think about it, I mean, it wasn't all bad, it was great, but what happens is you end up being a craftist. And I was talking about this last night because I forgot about it, and like one of the really frightening things is because you limit yourself so much in terms of what you can use and what you can do, when you're having a bad day trying to write that kind of music and you're tied in with your template with like a set load of sounds that you can use, you're tied in sort of with trying to follow what you think the label creative manifesto is to get signed to that label, and you're tied in with sort of the specification of the genre and then trying to jam you in it all. What can happen is, instead of your creative palette of options expanding, you find it actually shrinks, which is really weird, and you end up with kind of less and less things to be able to do to kind of dig yourself out of the creative hole. The other thing is just the whole procedure of it, isn't it? And then I always come back to the AI thing. If you're procedurally doing something, like putting your kick drum in and your snare and your hi-hat and all that kind of stuff, it's very easy, isn't it, for people to like copy that and do that. And I found that sort of with doing dance music, electronic music, that anybody could have a go and everybody could have something out there, which is great on one hand, but also you end up with a scene of music that's absolutely full of tons and tons of music that's not that great, So that was my sort of experience of being craft. And then the other weird thing would be that I wasn't sure when I was doing craft or when I was doing art. And this is like when what happened is when I started in 2017, sort of with the machine. So I've had about 3 years of me releasing like a ton of dance music. But when I started with the machine in 2017, that really clarified exactly what was craft and what was sort of being an artist. But it also really clarified design and discovery. So just putting on the jacket so I look cool and all that. That is absolutely right. You know me well, smart Alec. and I was making a coffee, which I have here. So when the machine came along, so within the sections of the machine, get it up to remind myself. All right. You know, the first thing to get you out of sort of that craft sort of vibe is splurging and that whole splurge mentality. Because one thing is with the craft side of things, I would always feel that there had to be a big time investment, and I couldn't really, start anything in a short space of time. Mainly because all of my thinking was actually based in the future of what I was doing. In other words, I was very, very result focused. I was like, I'm not willing to invest such and such time unless I'm guaranteed to have this end result. And this is the thing you got to watch out for, because when you're using craft in your music, it kind of gives you that security, but it's a false sense of security in a way of that, if you do this action, it will give you some results. It won't give you all the results, but it'll give you something. And therefore, it's more of a comfortable place to be because it allows you to be result focused. And you can almost, when you're doing craft thing, you can almost, just do it and not actually even be in the same room. But the problem with this is you're not going to make anything unique, and that's what we need. The world always needs something different, something unique. For people to listen to. And, on labels, on one hand, this is where it's confusing, is they're wanting a particular sound, but they're also wanting something different. So it's like almost like an impossible situation that you're in, trying to mess with these thresholds to get them right. It's almost random. And I think the other thing with labels is a lot of the time they kind of know what they want, but they don't really know what they want. They're just wanting a surprise. So that craft thing really did stop working for me, and I just, I didn't feel, it was very, very difficult to come up with stuff that I really liked, that I thought, all right, this is like a good, this is something different, this is something special. Very rarely would I surprise myself with an idea until the machine came along. And from the get-go, you've got like this the act of splurging. And the thing with splurging is it's completely designed for you not to worry. In fact, all of the machine is designed for you not to worry about results. So you can actually focus on being an artist. So when you're splurging, although you can start off with a basic template, beats plus 3, okay, anything is possible. You can throw anything in there. And because splurge sessions tend to be very, very short, if you're doing lots and lots of splurge sessions, the great thing about that is you can take risks, you can take chances, and they're not really chances, but you can just really experiment with things and create a lot of different ideas, playing with tons of different concepts, that you wouldn't normally do, and there isn't that time investment, and it's getting you away from a result focus. So splurging really is, you're making the fuel for the engine, so to speak. And the great thing about running a system like this is it doesn't matter how wild you get in your splurging or how crazy those ideas get. As long as there's something in there that interests you, okay, that chaos can be dealt with as you go down in the machine, because the discovery is just an investigation of that creative crime scene, where you can work out where you want to go with that musical idea, and discovery is exactly what it says it is, and that is the mindset that we need. And discovery really is discovery is the mindset that I always have now, walking into any situation. And it was really interesting to hear Rick Rubin in his book. So the I don't know if you've seen it. The Creative Way of Being. I recommend this. So I got it in hardback, but I've got it on Audible, and I listen to it in the car. And he talks about, so he doesn't mention discovery. Well, he does mention discovery, but the way he puts it is that when we're in these situations, we need to be open-minded. What was the word he said? Discover. We should never assume. So that was it. Never assume and always discover. And I thought that's it's been an amazing book because I've never read it before. I've been doing all this stuff for years, and then you read that, and then there's Rick Rubin with very similar processes. So it's really interesting hearing that. Very affirming. But what was I saying? Yeah. So always walking into a situation with discovery massively helped me, because what I was doing before as a craftist, as a craft person, is I was just seeing everything through the craft. And that's why it was limiting. I wasn't discovering anything. Any ideas that I had that were coming into my head that would have been amazing, probably, weren't getting discovered because I just saw the result. And when you have a result and you're working towards a result, that's craft, isn't it? It's design. It's craft and design. And then what would happen is I would creatively walk in a straight line towards that, and you'd have other ideas coming in. Oh, hi, Des. And instead of going, oh, that's an interesting idea, I'll explore that. All right. I don't know, it could be something. This is how I imagine it, right? So in techno music, some clever person, right? Probably Justin Hortons, who's a big techno guy, right? So in really proper old school techno, right? They have a kick drum, but then what they'll do is they'll put gated reverb and mess with it to the point where it sounds like another bass, and it's filling in all the gaps of the kick drum. Doing something like that the first time, that's really being creative. That's that's discovering something that almost defines part of a genre. And that's just an idea somebody's had and have just thought, all right, I'll do that. Or they've done it by mistake, right? This is the other thing I'll do. I'll do something by mistake and then think, well, that's a mistake. I don't want to do that. And then undo it and then continue in that straight line towards the thing that I'm trying to basically design. So we've got to be careful when we're trying to make something that we take into account all of these other ideas that are coming in, because we need to be doing them. It doesn't mean we're going backwards. We're still always doing forward. Whenever you make a decision to do something, it's still a forward move. And what you find is if you trust these other ideas that are coming in, they're actually insight anyway. All right, it's coming from some place in the subconscious, from some musical experience that we have. That's always, I find, relevant to what we're doing. That it's okay to follow those ideas, and it's okay to do that. And that way, hi Admad, I'll be watching till drop. Very good. So yes, it's good to do those ideas, because that's where you're going to find, what people call the happy accidents. That's where you're going to find things or do things that you wouldn't normally think about doing, and surprising yourself. But either way, you're moving forward to the same goal, aren't you? Which is to make great music that's interesting and that's surprising to you and everybody else. And hopefully redefines a genre or creates a new genre, because that's what we need. We need new music, new ideas. And as I always say is, when I've been going through these talks, you probably see how things are sort of geared up towards this discovery mindset, So what I've got today right, is I've got a little design discovery game we can play, right? So don't feel you have to play it, but it'd be good if everybody did, okay? But I'll just go through the questions because it's like another one of those things. It's sort of almost for me to get my head round this. I might be a bit slow on the upmark, right? But and I can see why I came from a craft background, because being a shred guitarist, being somebody who didn't want to be, who just wasn't proactive, that was more reactive. It wasn't the state to be in, really, to make great art. But obviously I was good at what I was doing. I was good at my job at playing guitar and playing with other people, and I could write songs and things like that, but it always came, to be honest, from a craft point of view. I knew that if I learned theory, right? The reason I was learning theory is because I knew if I did X and Y would equal whatever the result would be, roughly in the ballpark of what I wanted. And that's just not, to me, art, Anyway, to make things clearer, as always, a bit slow on the uptake, I needed to have some sort of exercise, right, to clear things up, right? And I have got an exercise here somewhere. So this is this is like really good, this game. Actually, I wonder if I've got it on my phone, because that'll be easier. I'll tell you what, just bear with me, because it's just easier if I do it this way. Let's see if it's come through. Talk amongst yourselves. There we go. All right. So, yeah, it was like one of those moments when I kind of discovered, the self one and the self two thing, when I realized like the random thoughts I was having wasn't me, and like I was the person listening to the thought, and then I realized that when I'm in flow, I experience me, and it was like the Sixth Sense moment, I was like, wow, that's amazing. So it was never me, that voice. So design to discovery game. So this had a big pivotal I had an epiphany with this. This really massively helped me out. And all it is, right, is you get a design statement. So there's a sentence that'll be a typical design thing. And often these are things that people will be thinking, right? There'll be beliefs or whatever, or what have you. And I did all these things. I thought all of these. So the first one is, how do I get the ideal situation to make the best music? All right. How do I get the ideal situation to make the best music? So that's a design statement. Okay. And these are all the things I kind of watch out for being a coach, is like the word I. How do I get this? How do I get that? Because it is a result focus, isn't it? You're thinking, there's obviously something that you have in your mind that you're expecting to have at the end, okay? And it's not allowing any discovery. It's just, I want this, and I just want to be able to get all the components together and put them together, and then that will guarantee me a particular result. And this just isn't the case with music ever, really, is it? So that would be the design statement. Is everybody following this? Or am I going off on one of my crazy things here? I hope you're finding this interesting. Just I thought, the whole design discovery thing, when I got my head around it, in terms of like my practice as a musician, it massively helped me. But do tell me, if you're following along, because I know I've kind of crashed into this today. But do feel free to, ask any questions about anything. Right, okay. So Nalon, staying on the craft side too much gets boring, but the fundamentals back you up when you're ready to explore and create. Of course. Now that is absolutely brilliant, Nalon, because what I always say to people is see your craft, your design, through the lens of discovery. Because, how else do you make something? I mean, you do have to, when you think of the idea, the crazy idea that comes from the subconscious, when we're talking about three-role theory, the creator has to get involved making that thing, doesn't it? So this is why we have the three-role theory. Because we've got a dreamer, who I suppose the dreamer is the artist, isn't it? And then you've got the creator, and the creator is leaning into, it's a bit of both really, but the creator's leaning into the design, the fabrication of the dreamer. Hi, Kevin. It's all right. There's no, you can be late. You can just wander in. It's fine. So the creator is about design, isn't it? Because how else is anything going to get made? But it's seen through the eyes of the artist, through the eyes of the dreamer, through the lens of discovery, special lens you put on in front of your design. So we don't fall down those traps of being repetitive and doing things in a formula sort of way. I mean, saying that, the design thing's not always a bad thing. Like if you've got a job and you need to quickly knock something up and it has to be of a particular specification in music, then obviously, that can serve you quite well. But it doesn't make an art. And you're less likely to find something unique in all of this. And the whole point of sort of what I do as a coach and, how I run the machine and the things that I do is all about making music a bit more painless, getting rid of all of the repetitive tasks that we do that stress us out, and then allowing us to have more headspace for stuff like this, for our discovery. Anyway, so how do I get the ideal situation to make the best music, right? Well, basically, to change that statement round, what I put was, how can I use my situation now to make the best music? So this is really, really important because, like, how many people just basically buy tons of stuff that we don't necessarily need, I've cleared my space, by the way. The Quad Cortex has gone. I need to sell it. But, basically in my room now, it's cut down to the things that I use, and that is it. And it's all got like a specific function to the things that I'm doing, i.e. making music. I've got my Push here. The reason I use Push is it's pads, and I can just lock it to a key, so I don't have to think of like the notes, because I'm not that great with scales on a piano and stuff. I've got my piano here, so I've got a good overview of harmony as well. So I've got those two things which I can bounce between. I've got this to trigger loops, and I've got basically my Stream Deck, which is for the live, and then I've got some pedals on the floor that work other stuff. Ableton Live and some choice plugins, and really I only need the stuff really in my template. So that's just a handful of things, and that just saves so much more headspace, because every time you buy something new, right, you have to learn how to use it. And especially with plugins, they're all different ways of solving the same problems, aren't they? So really, the way I think about it, to solve the problem, it's really down to us, isn't it? It's down to us, like picking a tool, because they pretty much do the same thing, right? It's just picking if we just pick a tool and get amazing at it and become masters of that tool, then that solves a lot of the other problems that other plugin manufacturers are giving us, So it's just picking the right thing that really sort of resonates with you, like Thomas's Polychrome. His suite solves tons of problems. It's like everything that you need for every situation that you're going to be in as a modern musician, like me on here, that I need. It's like if I'm lazy and I need a sound quick, the presets are good and they're good to go and they're mixed and it's ready, for most situations. But then it also has just enough play on it for you to be able to create whatever tone that you need to get as well, but without being overwhelming. So things like the IR section and just having, 6-7 choices on each section really, really helps. There's an IR for most situations that you'll get in, So I always found one of those work, So if I'm doing a track, right, and then suddenly the guitars, as I'm layering other instruments on, are disappearing, I can just go into that IR section, okay, and quickly flick through and find the right IR that's going to like push the guitar through back into the mix so I can hear it again. And that's really good, because it still means you're not going to go down the IR like ridiculous rabbit hole, because it is, and then you just end up confused. You can't even trust your ears by the end of it. You've just got those limitations, and like one of them is bound to work, So that's really good. So it's all about, from that point of view, limitations massively help you, because a limitation will allow you to discover other options, thinking outside of the box. So yes, how will I get my ideal situation now to make the best music? I think all of us who are messing with music now have got enough. We don't need to buy anything more, do we? We've got enough to like make stuff and release music just the way that we are. But it is nice to have all those other shiny objects, as people would say. So in other words, it's not just in our music that we're discovering, it's in our life. And this has massively helped me with my work as a coach. And all the other things I do with music and health is everybody is different, right? And everybody has different skills. And they have different agendas, okay? And I mean, what I find with education is it always feels like a bit of a square peg going into a round hole. It doesn't quite fit, and that's because usually there's a skill that you're expected to teach, or a skill that you think you need to teach. There's some sort of lesson plan behind how you teach that skill. Okay, so and if it doesn't fit with that person or group, then it's very, very difficult. You have to like undo this thing. So providing you know your stuff, right? Okay, by discovering, you can walk into a situation, right, and you can find out what individuals want to do. Okay, you can find out. So when I'm coaching, none of it's about me. There's no I. Okay, what it's about is what they want, and me discovering what that is, and then helping them solve their problems so they can continue on that journey of creating their own amazingly unique music. So in life is all about discovery and never design. As soon as we start designing, other options that come in, we ignore because it's not the mission, We don't think it's the mission. We've got this fixed result idea and we're wanting it, and that's not a great thing to have. So here's another one. How do I find or create that sound? So this is another one like people get obsessed to, right? How do I find or create that sound? Unison MIDI packs. It makes me cry when I watch their ad. Anybody seen the Unison MIDI packs adverts? I reckon they're making a fortune because people buy them. But basically, like what I don't like, I might be getting a bit old here, right? But why would just buying chords in MIDI format and just using those to make music help you? And then not bother learning to put a chord together? I mean, like, is like constructing a chord so difficult? Like the people who are buying Unison MIDI packs, right? At least at the bottom line, just learn how to construct a chord, right? On a keyboard using just the white notes. Sorry, there's nobody here with a Unison MIDI pack, is there? Because you can like, it's easy. You can work it out. You don't need all of that. And how else are you gonna express everything? Expressing emotions by finding the right emotion in the. I suppose there is some discovery there, but then you're still kind of locked in with this idea. So that whole thing of how do I get this sound, you know? The truth of the matter is that when I used to listen to dance music, and there used to be just these otherworldly sounds that I'd hear, there'd be a track that would blow up, and it would generally be, you could hear the design, all right? It's always the usual 4 on the floor kick drum, you know, if you're doing like, you know, a tech house track. And then you'd have your bass, okay? You're drawing your kind of bass, grooving along, and then like a little bit of a vocal. But you might have a melody or some sort of instrument that just sounds, well, you can't describe it. It's just wild. It's like, wow, I've never heard anything like this before. How do you think of something like that? How do you think of something every time and just make something that nobody's ever heard? Well, it's almost impossible to think like that, isn't it? Every time. But how it is done, and this is the epiphany for me, is that it was done through discovery. Somebody just happened to land on a sound and go, oh, that's cool. I know what I'm going to do with that. And then it's brought into the music, okay, and then repurposed in that context. And that's where the skill is. So it is about discovering something and being open to doing something that is a bit different. Which in a lot of sort of genres can be quite difficult, because you think, well, if I do this thing, it's so like different. You know, I'll not get my, you know, if you're trying to get signed to labels, then it's like, oh, well, that label might not sign me because it's now completely different. Well, it's just, you got to discover the right label. Or what I ended up doing was just me and Thomas releasing our music on our own label. So how do I find or create that sound? In other words, how can I make the sound I have now work? So that's the one. And actually, in one of the very early Splurge music games that I ever played, what you did there was basically you picked random sounds. So you'd basically get your synths, right? And then you'd quickly... what you do is just go to the bass category. Diva's really good because everyone's in a category. So you could quickly go to your bass category and then randomly just select a bass and use that with your drums. So it was always thinking, right, well, how can I get this bass to work with the drums that are there? And immediately it gets you onto the envelopes and it gets you onto that instrument, tweaking it to make that sound fit the music that's there. So you're immediately discovering where it gets really like not good is we get in a situation which typically people would do, and I would do this, is I go, that bass is all right, but it's not quite right, okay? And then what you do is you start flicking through presets, okay? You're flicking through presets to try and find something that's better than the one thing you had. Whereas the one thing that you had that may have been sort of in the ballpark, okay, that would be all right, providing you would get into the envelopes and shape the sound. So maybe the sound's a bit too long, maybe it's too short, so you can just widen it with the envelope or the MIDI notes and make that fit. Sorry, bit of a dry cough. I know why I was in a room with people vaping yesterday. And it creates havoc with me. Dying. Right. So when we look at my template, and you see like the instruments, the electronic instruments I use, I tend to go for, you know, SH-101 synth. It's sliders. So just to remind people, So I like this, right? Because it's simple. And what I ended up with is I always have ST Bass 03. It's a preset. Yeah, don't bring any vapes and I can vape. But it's weird. It's like if somebody just smokes a cigarette, it's not as bad. But vaping, it just sets me off. So anyway, when you're looking at something like this instrument, it's simple, it's basic. Everything I need to do is on that top layer in terms of shaping this bass to fit the music. And what I'll do is I always find that bass gets me in the ballpark, So rather than flicking through a preset, if I go, oh God, right, I need a longer bass. There we go. I've got a longer bass, if I need a really short one. If I need one where there's no attack. So it's like a no-brainer. I can quickly get about and I can quickly just discover what the music wants me to do and then try and shape it, and it takes seconds. And that way I haven't got this fixed idea in my head of what it should be, flicking through endless presets. So doing preset splurging is really, really good. You just find a sound and then you try and make that sound fit. So that'll be your bass. You'll go to your lead. Same thing. You start playing a lead. It might not quite fit. You just make it fit. Get onto the envelopes and start sculpting that sound to fit. Okay. Weird samples, I have, like in my template, I have lots of areas where it allows for discovery and like random things to happen, like those vocal stabs. And I'm not too fussy. I'll just grab something and I'll try and make that thing work. Within the context of what the music is asking me to do. So how do I find or create that sound? How can I make the sound I have now work? Is the answer to that. Number 3. There are 7 of these, by the way. What skills do I need to develop to make the best music? What skills do I need? And again, this is this is all like zones of experience. Any of you who've seen me get the zones of experience chart up, this is a typical area people get stuck on. I'm not making music because I don't know everything how a compressor works. I mean, like, which is ridiculous, but this does happen. Or I don't know how to make any synth sound that I can think of. All right. Or I don't know all of my modes in every key, playing every sequence. All right. These are all things that we think, that we have to do before we can move on to make our connection with the world, Yet there are people who make amazingly successful music that's good and creative because they've got their other skills dialed in. They just think, right, these are the skills I've got and I'm going to use them to express who I am and my emotions. And then if anybody likes it, then that's great. And that's what Rick Rubin talks a lot about in his book, It's not about knowing everything, is it? It's about using what you've already got, which is why coaching's been my method of helping people, because it's all about them, and it's all about them using the skills that they already have to express who they are emotionally as a metaphor through their music, and therefore making a connection to the world. And the very, very start of that bass, okay, is using their skills that they already have. Especially like us shred guitarists, all right? Because we're like, to be shredding, you've got to be skill focused, haven't you? You've got to be obsessed with the skills, learning different techniques. And a lot of time, I can be learning something, right? Because I go down a rabbit hole, I don't even realize it. And I don't know why I'm doing the thing that I'm doing. And I have to remind myself I'm learning this particular skill because it's going to enable me to do this thing in my own music. It's going to help me better express myself in a particular way because there was a problem there. So it's all about, and actually it's really interesting because I've been listening to a few Brett Garsted interviews, and he is one of the few sort of guitarists where I hear him talking about, or he talks about the why. There's him and there's what's his name? Johnston. Oh, what's the finger picking guy? The hybrid guy? Nick Johnston. So he talks about the why. So they're playing, their whole skill set is based about having encountered a problem and then practicing a technique to get over it. All right. Let's catch up on the chat. Oh, good. Kevin's in the middle of selling and clearing. Excellent. Obsessed about that. Yeah, that just my first song had zero compression, zero automation, and zero EQs. There we go. But you still, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to make things sound of a standard, don't you? But in terms of expressing yourself, you know, what's a compressor saying? And what's an EQ saying about you, your music, your emotions that you're having? I can say 100% of your coaching has pushed me to the best I can be, and the process has only gotten better and more productive and fun. That's brilliant. That's lovely. Thank you, Kevin. Yes, I always tell people that the coaching and the machine really work, but I don't want to get preachy. No, that's fair enough. It's funny that, because like I do, like I feel, oh, I'm getting a bit preachy here, but then I get to a point and I think I just go for it because like I can't help it. It's because it becomes quite like important. Because people do struggle and you do get depressed, don't you? And like there's a thing with music where like I would just repeat the same things that obviously didn't work, expecting them to work, right? And I would just do it and then go, why doesn't it work for me? And it works for everybody else. And it's just a horrible place to be, you know? And we do that and we'll repeat, you know, I'll repeat this. I would repeat the same thing, getting the same results, hoping that if I repeated it enough times, that I would get a different result and it would work. It's bizarre, honestly. So in short, what skills do I have now that I can use to make the best music? So, you know, everybody here, everybody has got the skills they need to make absolutely amazing music. You know, you'll watch people, you know, on Instagram, right? Some sort of really poverty-stricken place in Africa, and they've got, you know, they're playing amazing rhythms on some drum kit that they've made out of bits of rubbish and stuff, or people on an acoustic guitar with one string tuned down, just like playing great music, you know. And it's the limitations. It's those limitations that make it of a style, that make it like interesting, that pushes them to think outside of the creative box. So, you know, the limitations of skills works in our favor, you know. It makes us think more creatively. I need to wait for inspiration to make great music. Oh, we all know what we all know what I think about this. I need to wait for inspiration to make great music. Okay. That one. Yeah. I don't know how to say it differently, to be honest. I'm going to get a coffee here. Well, as I always say, if you're not feeling inspired to go to work that day, do you stay in bed? Or if you just don't feel inspired to get out of bed, do you just stay in bed? Yeah, so there you see, Chuck Close. Chuck Close says that inspiration is for amateurs and the rest of us just show up to work. Correct. So, and that's right, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, right, I've felt like, again, I got up this morning and like coming on here, last night when I was planning what I would do in about like 2 minutes of what I would talk about and everything today, I thought, all right, yeah, I'll do that. I'm excited about that. And then I woke up this morning, right, and like the excitement isn't there. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. And I lay in bed for 2 minutes and I've only got 15 minutes to get up. I wasted 2 minutes this morning out of my routine thinking like, oh God, should I just stay in bed? Should I sneak up and cancel it? Oh, I don't know if I can be bothered. Not feeling it, man. And then I just went, get up. You weak person. So I got up and then as soon as I was into my routine, flicked everything on, still feeling uninspired, made my coffee, felt uninspired, sat down here, felt inspired, switched the live on, fiddled with my hair, wasn't inspired, couldn't get that. I mean, and I think, right, I'm going to watch this back, right, but this bit of my hair has suddenly crept up. I don't think it was like that before. It's got its mind of its own. I think it's discovering. Hold on, we'll sort the hair out. See, if my hair's in discovery mode, it's trying to discover who it is. Just adding to the Hutch hair jokes. Anyway, what was I saying? So I sat down, don't feel inspired. Sat here thinking, I don't feel inspired. Oh, I'm enjoying the heat of the fire. I'll just enjoy a bit more of that heat before I have to go on live. And then I just go live. And, you wobble a bit. This is what I'm talking about. Not really sure. It was a good idea last night. And, but sure enough, I'm warming up to the whole craft, art, design, discovery, discussion, and I'm fully alive and I'm fully inspired now. It's an amazing thing. And what do we learn from this? We learn from, okay, you just got to turn up and start doing the thing. I don't like the word work, right? But you just got the thing that you're wanting to do, that you're having resistance towards doing, just do. Because what will happen is you will be rewarded with inspiration. And I know that if I sit here talking enough about design and discovery and things like that, other ideas and things that will come into my head that I can talk about, that we can explore once I get in the zone. So here we are again, Hutch, totally uninspired, just not feeling it, but sitting here and just really basically forcing myself to do the thing because I know inspiration will come and it happens every time. I can't think of one session. Well, I can think of one session. All right, where I felt uninspired, and that session was when I was doing craft, because it stopped working and I limited all of my options. And it was when I first started. Getting coached, and I was doing this whole like rewiring of my brain, doing the habits. So it'd be right at the beginning. I was doing my habits, and I was dialing in my habit, my environment, and things were going well. And I was making music, and I was starting to find a bit of a style for myself within the genres that I was wanting to be in, and things were going well, and I had a routine. But the problem is like one day it stopped working. And why, I don't know, but it stopped working, and I think it was just my head getting absolutely bored of what was there all of a sudden. And I was just like, this isn't working. I don't like anything that I'm doing. And then I had a succession of about 2 or 3 morning sessions where I was getting up and making absolute crap, and it was bad. It was like I couldn't even make anything. And it was like I'd completely forgotten how to do music. And the frightening thing was what I was experiencing as that thing is I became so designy that all of my options were just narrowing down because I would only do the things that worked, and that's all I had to work with. And I wouldn't do anything with those things. So it was really limiting. And eventually I ground to a halt, and then I went running to my coach, crying. Oh no, I've wasted all this time. I've lost 3 days. But I've been getting up in the morning and there's when I used to get up at 4 in the morning, 4:30, ridiculous. Because I still used to think I needed loads of time to do stuff. So I'd have like a 3-hour session. I'd start at 4 in the morning, but like 4 till 7. I didn't have to do that. When I found out about flow, I realised, all right, I only need an hour and a half. Well, anyway, so that's what I was doing. It was that design thing just put me in such a tiny box. I couldn't do anything, and I had to widen what I was doing. So I hope that is this making sense. So another thing, minimum viable commitment. Minimum time is 5 minutes. No excuse not to do it. Actually, and the other thing about that whole thing, because I need to give you the solution to the problem. So how did I dig myself out of the mess of, narrowing myself down? And the way I did it was this. My coach, Mike Monday, had to say to me, Tim, I give you permission to make absolute shit music. He said, just make shit music. Just make utter crap. In fact, when you go to your studio, try and deliberately make terrible, the worst music that you could do. And that's how I got out of it. It became really difficult to make bad music then. I was like, I'm going to make this really bad. Oh, that's quite interesting, that. I was like, I'll make something terrible. And I'm pulling parameters about, there's doing stuff like that, quantizing it, and then suddenly like a nice riff jumps out of it. And I'm thinking, well, that's good. All right, I know exactly what I'm doing. So in the act of making something terrible, lots of things jumped out of it. So that's the way I got out of it. I got out of it by giving myself, or because I had no brain of my own then, somebody else had to give me permission to make terrible music. And then off I went like a design, like a craft design robot with no discovery capabilities. I learned to discover. I've been told to make crap music. Oh, that's good, right? And then I came alive, and here we are today. So anybody who's stuck, right, and tied in with your genre of music, and feel that your options are limited, and you've just, forgetting how to ever do music, I give you, if you like me, permission. I give everybody in the room permission to make absolute crap music. I need to be like the Pope, don't I? I need to be like once a year everybody comes to visit me and I'll have a balcony and I'll come out and I give everybody permission here that needs it. I all bless you to make absolutely terrible music. I want everybody to go off and make the worst stuff they've ever made. Give it a go. So we don't wait for inspiration. We don't wait for inspiration. Inspiration will come. If you're prepared to sit down and go through the motions, something good will always happen. Apart from that, I've never had a bad session. It's always been good. I woke up this morning, as I said, thought this was going to be terrible. It's ending up, I'm warming up. I'm livening up. Maybe because I'm waking up. There you go. Your dream board. There we go. The machine has helped me so much. Excellent. That's all right, Bella, but I do know it's Enzo. Right, great. So yeah, permission to make bad music. Really, really good, isn't it? Oh dear, this one. When I make music, I'm shooting for perfection. Oh dear. See, I used to do this. Guilty. Shooting for perfection. It's got to be this thing. It's got to be perfect. And this is the music industry. This is not my experience at a very young age working with certain producers who I'll not mention. But saying, if it's not perfect or straight, you'll lose your job, whatever job that is. I mean, just like... the job was lost in the first place. It wasn't like I was making like absolutely tons of money. Um, but this whole perfection idea, okay, perfection is what? Perfection is expectation. There's an expectation now, and if we have an expectation, all right, then unfortunately we're result focused. If we're result focused, we're now skill focused, and we're actually focused on everything other than art and making something that's going to be different and excite people. And then that becomes perfection, doesn't it? Because why does it become perfection? Because we made it, came from our hearts. That's how we felt in that moment. So therefore, it is perfect to us. And that's perfectly fine. And there'll be other people in the world that you'll connect to who will think that music that you're making, it doesn't matter how bizarre it is, will think that's perfect. You know. Look at Alan Holdsworth, all right? Now, I could play Alan Holdsworth, to my godmum. I go, godmum, check this out. This is amazing. And she wouldn't get it. She'd think that's just, he's playing anything. There's no tune there, right? Simply because she doesn't have the framework of reference, okay? We can't make something that everybody's going to like. But what we can do, like Alan Holdsworth, is we can explore and go on a journey which leads us somewhere different and exciting. And I mean, his music I couldn't understand it at all when I was younger. Now I get a glimpse into the Alan Holdsworth window and it's fascinating. I'm not really sure if I want to go down there, right? But I open up the trap door and have a look into Alan Holdsworth world, and I just think this is incredible, right? When you start kind of understanding what's going on a little bit, it's just amazing just to be able to listen to it as a skill for me. It's so enjoyable. And to me, what he did is I can't find any fault with it. It just sounds perfect. So to me, as a fan, his music sounds perfect. To other people who don't have the framework of reference, right, they're not, they're not going to get it, are they? So, so we don't have to worry about perfection, because it is an expectation, and it's not how we're going to find our voice. It's how we're going to end up stuck searching YouTube for more production skills, buying more plugins, thinking that that's going to get us towards perfection, buying MIDI chord packs from Unison because they've got the perfect chord progression for your production, even though they don't know who you are. We've got the perfect thing for everything that, like, what? So, so what do we say to perfection? I'm losing where I am. I'm shooting for when I make music. When I make music, I'm on a journey towards mastery, and that's what all this is about, isn't it? Mastery. So we're just who we are in the moment, and we are, in a way, going for objective perfection, but we do know that we're not going to get there. But it is something that we can, when we're doing our visualization exercise yesterday, in a way, what we're doing there is I'm encouraging everybody to go for the perfect dream of their music and their business. And, but then questioning yourself on what are you going to have to personally change from within you to achieve those things, and this is important, but it gives you something to work on, to work towards, and it allows you to identify the things and the tools that you need to start that journey. And it is a journey, isn't it? Sometimes you will get close to the perfection horizon, but you'll never get to it. And other times you'll be so far away. But either way, you'll be discovering, if you're doing that, unique and interesting things and having an absolute blast on that journey. That journey is, more like Lord of the Rings, right? The mastery one. Okay, you're going to end up in all kinds of places. But at the end of the day, that chase is more important than just getting to the end. Like with craft, I'm going to build a chair. So you make a chair and you can sit on it, and then that's it, and it's done. And that chair is now perfect because it fully, it looks okay. It fits in with the house, and you can sit on it. So it ticks all the boxes. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to challenge ourselves. We're trying to challenge the world with our art, aren't we? And this is how we do it. So when I make music, I'm on a journey towards mastery. That's how we change that one round. Okay, we've got another 2 left to do. My music is an expression of who I am, me. So, making music about who you are is quite difficult, isn't it? For the simple reason, right, is like basically if I make a piece of music who I am now, I'll be a different person tomorrow. So it's very difficult to do that. But what music is about is it's about, when we're talking about art is about an expression of who you are in the moment, affected by your environment, which is ever changing. So the world is a very changing place at the minute. There's a lot of serious stuff going on, isn't it? And this will affect our music. We will reflect on that. And we will make music in sympathy with what's resonating around us. So when we make music, is it a good thing to express who I am, me? And that's it. It's just one stamp. Boom, that's me. And it doesn't change. Well, I'm a completely different person to what I was when I was 19 to what I am now at, not going to tell you. I'm so young though. So really, I can't make one bit of music that's just me. All right? But what I can do is I can express how I'm feeling today in relation to what's going around with me. In that way, as the answer is, my music is a metaphor for how I feel at the time. And playing guitar is a great thing because actually, if I'm not recording, and you can pick it up and play a bit of blues, can't you? You can do a bend, you can resonate with how you're feeling, and this is why playing an instrument is such or singing or anything like that. It's such a therapeutic thing to do because it's instant metaphorical expression, and you can disclose your most deepest feelings, and nobody's got a clue what you're saying. It just sounds good. Oh, that sounds great. Don't know if Hutch has had a bad day or not, but it's sounding really good. Yeah, I like that. That reminds me of, such and such time in my life. And that's the magical thing about music, isn't it? Is that that actually, when you think about it, we make the music, but the people who are receiving this, the end user, sounds very corporate, that, doesn't it? The end user, the listener. Okay, the person listening to, they are also authors themselves because they relate their own experience to that music. And that's deep, isn't it? Right, number 7, here we go. Typical, right? I make my music as good as possible for others so they will help and support me. Oh dear. What was I doing for a good chunk of my career? I've got to beat myself up, haven't I? It's all right now, though. Hutch, it's okay. I'm out of it. Ish. Let's just read that again. I make my music as good as I possibly can for others so they will help and support me. All I used to do, right, was just make music based on... So the first part of the publishing, yes, there was the bit where I was kind of making my own dance music because that's what I wanted to do. But I was still making music for pop. I mean, madness. I mean, I had the Karen Harding thing. She top-lined a load of my stuff. And Simon Cowell's label, I can't remember, what are they called? Psycho Records, something like that. I can't remember what his label's called. But I remember having 8 tracks like with his A&R team, and they were really humming and hawing about it and really interested in this stuff for a few of their X Factor artists, right? And all of that music that they had, right, I made to create that situation, which is just bizarre when I think about it. You know, I made music, and there was it was craft, it was perfectionist. I spent ages mixing it. I made absolute just design music to create that exact experience that happened, so everybody would support me. So the publisher would get inspired to go send the music out and go do the meeting down in London with Simon Cowell's team to discuss what they wanted to do with this music that I had. And the whole thing was just completely based around supporting me. But supporting what? Because none of it was like me. It was just something. It was just me. Basically, I mean, it would be original, but it's just me copying genres, isn't it? To attract people, to support me. And I've got to admit, it was a very soulless experience, you know. Everybody else was digging it because the business minded, they want that break. If I became a big producer for that, would I feel like I'd done something? Probably not. Because it just wasn't what I experience now in my creativity and my sort of art. Like now I feel like an artist because I discover things. I wasn't discovering. I was just designing that whole thing to get people to support me. None of that music, right? None of that music was it's hard, isn't it, for me? None of that music was really, none of it was art. It was just kind of plagiarizing stuff that was there to get attention, but a necessary learning experience, you know. But that's what was around me. That's how people went on. That's what I was also being encouraged to do, you know, by publishers, to do this particular thing, and they could do something with my career. But it isn't what I wanted to do, you know. And there are other ways, and that game is very, very hard to get into. So what's more important than doing that? Because the other thing about doing music like that is you're literally bottom of the food chain, okay? You're doing something that a million other producers can do. So you're just a generalizer, and generalizers, as I call them, like have the lowest value. You need to specialize, and then you're the only provider. Especially if you're doing your own music, and of course we can release our own music. You need to be specializing. You need to be finding your unique voice, and there's lots of talk about finding your unique voice. But it's true. This is how, you know, the world wants something different and new to listen to and get excited about. So I make music as good as possible for others, so they will help me and support me. And then the answer to this, the discovery version, is I make my music to find my connection to the world. And there we go. And that is everything so far that I've got to say. Right, so what the date today is the 26th, right? I did say I would do a month of talks. All right, so we've got a choice here. All right, we should have a vote on it. I'm in two minds on whether, like, this is the last one for a bit. Okay, and I've done my month of lectures, and we've got all the resources here, and people can go back to it and find some help in amongst all of this chaos that I've created in January. And I can go back to actually just picking guitars up and shredding and doing, which I'm really feeling like I want to do that. Or I did say to the end of the month. So to keep true on this, because I didn't realise, I thought it was the end of the month now. So to keep on target with that, God, honestly, January is such a long month. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I can keep going with these talks to the 31st. What should I do? Somebody tell me, first person, tell me what to do. You see, I'm just being reactive. This is me all the go. You see, I'm not cured. What should I do? Should I do a talk on the 29th and the 30th? Actually, I'm thinking I should. And then Wednesday, there isn't anything next week. And then Thursday and Friday, we can go back to shredding. That sounds actually good to me. I've decided, right, there's going to be another 2 talks, Monday and Tuesday, despite what I told Des on email yesterday. So Des, because at the end of the day, Des is the guitar quality control officer on here. And I need to get him back to work. I deserve a break. I don't have a break. All right, let's have a look. There we go. I'm going to make the biggest stinky piece of music possible. Absolutely brilliant. I was looking to have my dad expose me to holes of when I was younger. God, that's amazing. Doing these lives has started to make me become more disciplined already. Excellent. And application. We become a different person every 2 years. Interesting. Is it 2 years? It must be. I would feel like I made a frozen dinner and claimed it from scratch. Yeah, it gets to, well, that's when you stop clipping the loops together, isn't it? If you used EJ or something. I deserve a break. Scott wants the guitar. Might be doing another 2 lectures here. I think it's going to be a surprise. Take more, yeah. There's not going to be a break. Is there anything to make it more New York time? Unfortunately not. I'm staying up very late to participate. No, that's good that you're staying up late. Unfortunately, I can't help you there because it's the only time I can do this. I did hear Cab too. Very good. It was all right. We need to discover what the Tim Hutch wants to be. I'm actually, to be honest, I'm kind of who I want to be now. I'm all right with this. Doing my coaching, shredding on Kiesel guitars, making music live, doing the performance things once a fortnight. It's all good. The plan has come together. Planet X. I'm going to listen to Planet X today. Thomas, I love boobs and sausages. Very good. And there's Chili. Hi, Chili. There you go. I was just been doing potentially my last talk of the month, but there might be another 2. But we've been today's always, well, it's been about design and discovery, and it's been a blast. It's been fun. So it's now 22:08 here in the UK. So I'm going to have to basically go. So if there's any final quick questions anybody wants to ask, then that's okay. But apart from that, it's all cool. Sorry, I was just miles away, just catching up on the chat there. It's like Frozen, wasn't it? So I think what I'll do is I didn't see any funny faces during yesterday's replay, but saw how many times you blinked in a 5 minutes. Words of inspiration for the day. Yes. See your life through the lens of discovery. And also, you have permission to make absolute shit music. Oh, how many times? How many times did I blink in 5 minutes? Once. Or loads of times. 240. How do you know? How did you sit there and count 240? See, now I'm thinking about blinking. I'm really good at like a staring competition. Twice the amount. I wonder why. I'll look into it. How many times I meant to blink? Well, there you go. There's Chili. Chili's inspiration for the day. If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done before. And the way to that is through the lens of discovery. There you go. It means stress. Ugh. I'm not stressed. But there can be pressure doing these, you know. There we go. Brilliant. All right. So I'll see everybody. I don't know. Should be. I always say this and it doesn't happen, but I think last time I talked to Thomas, we're going to be doing some shredding on Saturday. Okay. Other than that, see you Monday morning. All right then. Bye.